Trump turns up the heat. The Republican presidential nominee goes all in on bashing his Democratic opponent, with voters heading to the polls in just 14 weeks from today. Trump is rallying for support by slamming Clinton, claiming the election is not fair.
It's a crooked system. It's a rigged system. We're running against a rigged system, and we're running against a very dishonest media.
Remember the nickname, Crooked Hillary? Well, now Trump hits Clinton even harder as he explains why he thinks Bernie Sanders made a big mistake endorsing her.
He made a bad deal. He should have not made a deal. He would have gone down and done something really important. Once he made that deal, and believe me, he has buyer's remorse. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil.
All right, Erica, new nickname, sort of doubling down on the Crooked Hillary. What do you think? Is the messaging working?
I think he needed to do that, and he needed to get off the con issue, and I think that's a good way to do it, call her the devil.
Who does it help him with?
Everyone, the media. You know, now we're talking about this. We're opening with this instead of talking about the back and forth with the Khan family, which is, I think, spot on. This is what he needed to do. But again, I think what he needs to do is run against Hillary Clinton, not run against all these other factions, all these other issues. Run against Hillary Clinton. Make her out to be the lying Hillary Clinton. She lied to Chris Wallace on a couple of issues on Sunday. Stay with that. That's where you're going to excel as a candidate, not trying to hit her or defend himself against the military families. He even went after, I think, some of the fire warden at one of his events. Stay off that stuff. This is about you against a flawed candidate in Hillary Clinton, and keep exposing all the flaws in her. And I think he's going to do a good job with that. There's plenty of them.
President Obama too. I mean, President Obama made it clear he's running too today.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
third term.
Yeah. I mean, what he did today, I thought was unbelievable. With the Prime Minister of Singapore sitting there, he decides to domesticate it and take shots as if he's running against Donald Trump.
Let's take a listen to that and get Dana to respond.
Yes, I think the Republican nominee is unfit to serve as president. I said so last week, and he keeps on proving it. What does this say about your party, that this is your standard bearer? And that's not just my opinion. That is the opinion of many prominent Republicans. There has to come a point at which you say, enough.
Okay, Dana, what do you think about this whole thing? Start with, the president's
Can I go back to the beginning?
Absolutely.
I think it is pretty astounding that in order to get off of the con story, that you don't go to the issue that we have this abysmal economic growth, the lowest record home ownership since they started making records. I mean, there are so many things that you could go down the list on to attack Hillary Clinton and say, there's no change here. But to call her the devil, I don't think that's going to work so well. For Obama, I think that I understand the temptation. He's very good at campaigning. He probably thinks that Hillary Clinton is not that good at campaigning. So he probably thinks he's offering her assistance. I don't think that's true. In this setting, when you're sitting with another world leader and you're talking about on the merits, trade, or whatever it is, if you are asked about Trump, don't take the bait. Say, I was at the convention, you have my speech, there'll be plenty of time to talk about that another time. Right now, I'm here with the leader of Singapore, and let's talk about something like that. That's what I think that he could have done. But the other thing on Donald Trump is that, let's say that it was a great tactic. If you think it was a great tactic to go after Hillary Clinton and try to pivot, that would be fine, but that won't be the news story in the next few hours, because Donald Trump just came out and attacked Paul Ryan and John McCain. So now you have more intra-party warfare.
Saying he won't support them.
Saying he's not prepared to support them after they've stuck their necks out for him. And and it wasn't just Paul Ryan and John McCain that had to distance themselves on the con comments. Every Republican that has a tough race, like Kelly Ayotte, he just said that she's a weak leader up in New Hampshire. I mean, it is like a wholesale destruction of the Republican Party when he actually has everything going for him if he chose to use it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Juan, so I see you shaking your head. So you think this was not good? What about the president making a comment?
Well, let me just say, first of all, I disagree with Eric. I mean, you can try to pivot away from the con story, but I think this invites people, and especially people who are in the middle, Eric, the persuadables, and I'm looking here at women. You're calling her the devil, right? I mean, basically, you're saying, you know, this is a witch, this is an evil Beelzebub or whatever you say. I mean, we go on. I mean, Carson already said she's Lucifer. I mean, this is now, I mean, it's like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Gentlemen, slow down. It's easy to critique your opponent in just the way that we heard Brian and Dana suggest. Those are real facts. You'd have to have a conversation. But the bullying and the name-calling,
right.
what does that say about Donald Trump?
And they're both right, and they're both factually correct, and that's okay, yes, but in order to change the news cycle, you have
Eric,
to be provocative.
Why would he play into a negative stereotype about himself as a bully and a guy who calls women names?
I don't think his supporters that are baked in for him are going to mind. But
no, that's right.
What about you know, building a bridge, getting more supporters, getting traction, trying to increase your poll numbers, trying to reach out to women, to minorities, to independents?
That was exactly what I was trying to say.
Right.
Hired for $1.
Put it this way, he actually, there's a memo that was handed out that we've gotten a hold of that shows that there's some a degree of seriousness amongst the Trump group that says, hey, wait a second, surrogates, this is what you do to get out of this mess with the Khan situation, and this is how we go from here, that the damage, you know, we're taking on water. And I also think that there's very few more opportunities that Donald Trump has to start fresh. He can win this thing. He's actually raising money. He actually is in the game in battleground states. In many situations, he's now building a team that is formidable, where he actually has an infrastructure around him. And he continues again today to call out Republicans. He cannot be listening to Paul Manafort. He cannot be looking to his communication team.
Why would he
You're saying he's not because
this is something he's done
for no. He has not attacked Republicans in a long time. And Paul Ryan is here
when they didn't support him.
When's the last time he attacked Paul Ryan?
When he wouldn't support him. Remember, he said, if you don't support me, I can't support your agenda.
Guess what happened? Paul Ryan's in. Senator John McCain yesterday says, despite everything you said, despite my two-page letter, I still support Donald Trump. He told the reporter, I'll let you know when I stop.
John McCain a loser. He's never apologized
No,
for that
I talked to Donald Trump 4 days ago. I said, is John McCain a war hero or not? He said, yes.
I mean, right, correct. Agree with all that, but you're saying at some point he's got to pivot and be more apologetic or
apologetic. Just don't insult Republicans. That's a disaster. That is a disaster.
He knocked off 16 opponents in the primary. He's got one to go.
That's June.
He raised $56 million last month. That's a pretty darn good month.
Get your message straight. He has bullet points. He's got winning bullet points. Ron Fournier was just wrote a column, said, I've been covering Clinton since '86. Yeah. She should be light years ahead of everybody right now. But the problem is she keeps lying. This is somebody who's leading the direction.
He's giving Hillary Clinton advice, not Donald Trump.
No, but instead, what's he talking about? That she's Lucifer, that Governor Christie.
Guys, let me get in this. I'm going to go to Dana about Rudy Giuliani. We were talking about this earlier, but former New York City Mayor Giuliani offers some good advice, in fact, for how Trump can come out on top of all the recent attacks.
My advice to Donald would be very simple. I'll tell you the advice I give him. You have one person to attack, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, because it's the Obama administration. Let all of us, myself, Gingrich, Christie, this whole army, let us attack everybody else. That's always been my rule in politics, which is you run against one person, don't run against the world.
Dana.
It's smart. And it's traditional, and it's how the establishment has run campaigns for years, and I don't think Donald Trump likes it. And it's not in his instincts. But the thing is that he has all of these people around him who are trying to help him. They are actually like putting themselves out there and saying, okay, I'll be with you. I'll be with you. And then they get a memo like this saying, oh, sorry, actually, you can't say that. Oh, wait, don't say that either. Wait, try to change. Donald Trump has a responsibility here to help them help him. You know, they can't just be out there doing it all on their own. I mean, Rudy is right. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I would never call you Rudy just by your first name. I think the mayor is absolutely correct that is what he can focus on. I don't think calling her the devil is necessarily the best way to do it. Do it on the merits. There are so many things that he could say on the merits, especially when it comes to the economy. It is true that the story about the economy, abysmal numbers that came out on Friday with the 1.2% economic growth last quarter, That story got buried by the con remarks. It doesn't mean that story is dead. That is what the numbers were from the quarter. There were a lot of other numbers in there, and I know you want to move on, but anyway, I just think that the mayor is right.
I want to move on, but I want to hit that point you're talking about the economy.
Excellent
Make
points.
a billboard out of it.
Those are great political points. Those are great typical political points, and Donald Trump is atypical. Everyone, and it's not just here. You hear it everywhere else. You hear, well, you know, he did well in the primary, but he's got to pivot back to a more traditional political campaign for the general. And he's saying, no, I don't. And who are we to sit here and say, well, you know, you crushed it in the primaries. 16 opponents took him out early when no one else thought you could. Why should he pivot to a traditional?
Well, I'll tell you why.
9 points he's trailing by in the
Today,
national poll.
It's the first day after the convention.
But look what's happened. Has he stopped the bleeding with what he's saying? Has anything has he done stopped the bleeding that he started inflicting on himself?
No. And let me just say, Brian, it's worse than you described. Because, Brian, you said, oh, no, people are coming together around him. Dana says people are trying to help him. But you know what? On the numbers, fundraising, in terms of campaign staffing, he is trailing badly.
$56 million. Just because she can raise $110 million.
They have the
no one
super
else
PAC
can.
that's with him right now is basically aiming at 3 states. And they don't even have money comparable to what Hillary Clinton has. And remember, Hillary Clinton's already run hundreds of ads, thousands of ads.
She's overstaffed.
And he has not run any ads. It's the super PAC that's coming in. So in terms of staffing, putting people on the ground to get out voters, you say, oh, he's atypical? Let me tell you something.
I heard
you want to get voters out.
Arguments in the primary. He'll never become the nominee with this kind of strategy. He's got to get more mainstream strategy.
Let me tell you something. This is a different audience.
But now it's a general election. Dana, if I understand what you're saying is there's a lot of material for him to work with because he has her on the merits in terms of the abysmal economic growth. All those numbers are strong suits for him in addition to the lack of ethics, the loose relationship with the truth, someone who struggles with integrity. All these things he can use to mobilize a strategy to gain more votes.
It's all right there. It's just his for the taking.
What would you hit with first thing tomorrow morning if you're in charge of that campaign?
I actually, I'm done trying to give advice because obviously if it's I'm just too typical of a person to give advice that would actually help a campaign. So I don't know what I would tell him to do. I guess I could just say, be yourself. Knock yourself out. I'll sit back and watch. I think it's very interesting. I think the demographics that are changing in the country are very interesting. But I think on the advice front, I'm out.
What happened Monday? Bombing Libya. A failed operation that she recommended, they have to go re-bomb again. We have to start bombing Libya again because of an operation that she supported with absolutely no battle plan. I would start there.
You know what he's bombing at the moment? His own campaign. He just fired 2 more top people today. And he's just going on. I mean, the memo Dana's talking about, the bombs are in-house. Someone is, spoiling the tent.
Still savable.
All right, so let's go. Much more to talk about.